Well, Jeff, we're on our third video on the idea that every family that's trying to parent a child with early trauma needs a support team around them. And our first video was how we become more isolated when there's critiques within our family, extended family, within the community. And then the second video was how our child's behaviors interfere with our own peer relationships,
Right.
whether it's at school or soccer practice or Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Their behaviors will start getting other parents to look at us like we're not doing a good job.
Yep. And of course, these are contributing forces to the downward spiral of isolation.
Yeah.
That is, it's really death to the effort.
It is, and the last one is so difficult, and many, many families have struggled in this area, are the untrained professionals that they work with, whether it's a doctor, behavior analyst, or specialist, or a therapist, and they go into parent blame. There's that because of the lack of knowledge and around early trauma. They're seeing it from whether it was a textbook they had in Counseling 101 or their experience of being a parent. They're jumping in and criticizing the foster and adoptive parents from that lack of knowledge. And
So it's probably worth noting here that there's a term out there in the world called trauma-informed. And like so many things in the nutrition industry, labeling, it's important to recognize that there is no definition for trauma-informed. The result of that is that just about every professional out there nowadays will say, I am trauma-informed.
And that can be a 2-hour class, or, I have seen such poor examples of a school guidance counselor, nurse, or something providing trauma training on kids experiencing divorce. Yes, that is traumatic for kids. We're talking about something totally different. We're talking about a pervasive early trauma where the child lacked so many parts of relationships that are necessary.
And it's worth noting that in the trauma world, just like in the world at large, things are moving so fast. Research is coming in on brain function. Research is coming in on the emotions that are generated. That a lot of people, while they really do, they can take comfort in the fact I'm trauma informed. Professionals above them have said, now you are trauma informed, etc. Now you have a handle on it. But really the skills they have to bring to bear are really the same ones they learned, in college.
Yeah.
The classic example for us is people who have been told to use sticker charts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Behavior management tools. Yeah.
Right. Now, they were taught very often in their education that these things produce change in human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not taught, that right from the beginning, behavior management tools are accepted to have not work in approximately 30% of the population.
Yeah, I think the biggest barrier, and we've noted in the other two videos as well, our children have a negative internal working model. They have a belief system that they're unlovable, that adults can't be trusted, the world's not safe. So now you get a professional coming in saying, oh, go trust your mom. She's going to do this or that. Or you're a great kid. You are so wonderful. You are so smart. And they don't understand. They have now just created a bad old belief systems. That child is driven, survivally driven, to prove they are not wonderful and great.
It shows up two ways with sticker charts.
Mm-hmm.
The self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
They'll call it that, where they'll work, 9 days out of 10 to get the sticker, but on the 10th day they just won't do it.
Yeah.
And the other way it shows up is they won't even work towards it.
Mm-hmm.
With the traumatization, with the hurts that these children have endured, a lot of times they really don't work to avoid loss. They just accept that loss is going to happen, so they
Yeah.
don't try to fix that.
Because it's part of their norm.
Now, what ends up happening in the professionals community, though, when they tell you to do these interventions, and it goes a lot of, again, it's basically stock interventions.
Yes.
Junior, we mentioned in the last one, Junior needs to be in community activities that are age appropriate.
Right.
That's just something that has to happen.
Yes.
But Junior, we know as parents and as professionals working closely with early trauma that sometimes they're just not ready to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that are being told to do that sticker chart, do that, put them in programs that they're not ready for. The well-meaning intentions of the professionals winds up actually being traumatizing to the child and actually hurting the child more.
And then they give the USAC messages to the parents.
Right.
Those. Are you sure you did it this way? I did explain to you how necessary it is for you to do each one of these. It has to be done in order.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do them out of order? Maybe that's why they failed.
And then there's a tendency in parents to talk about their own traumatizing
yes.
events. Like, do you understand that he did this in the house and he did that, to grandma? And, as we talk about those things, the professionals hear it. They hear the parents talk and they start to think, well, this parent is really against this child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The end result of that is, of course, even though the parent is just trying to
convey how difficult it is, how even dangerous it is at times. They said they want the professional to hear, I am desperately in need of help. And that professional just hands them that paper again and say, try again this week.
Yeah. And then, of course, it begins with the looks.
Mm-hmm.
Are you putting him down again?
Yes.
Must you always talk about everything that he does wrong? My favorite. We here at so and such, we try to be strength based.
Yes.
Can you tell me what he's doing right? And the parents, sometimes their brains can't go there. They're so locked into trying to fix what's going wrong that they can't make their brains go there. The end result, of course, is they get, you suck messages from the professionals that are supposed to be there, being paid for to be there to help them.
And that opens up the huge fear across the board is always the parents will be turned into Child Protective Services of being such a bad parent. And it's terrifying for the parents.
The hurt part of the child will pick up on that part of the professional who's starting to doubt the parent and will play it, will reinforce it.
Yeah.
They'll begin to alter their narrations of the week to make the parent look worse in ways that make the parents look worse, which in turn then sets the professionals even more against the parents, create that separation, and it ends up in the parents being isolated.
Yeah, some kids enter the system having turned in parents so many times. It's like, well, I'm just going to call my caseworker and ask to be removed.
Yeah, their limbic brains know. Their limbic brains know. When I get too scared in this new relationship, I can disrupt it by going to a professional and saying this, that, or the other thing.
See that happen. So it's not unusual for parents to be changing doctors, therapists, behavior specialists. There's like, okay, you're not getting it. You're not hearing me. I'm going to go someplace else. Maybe they'll get it.
Yeah.
And then you get this whole string of, when they start looking at your record. So you've been to 7 different psychiatrists, then there's all kinds of bad things that become assumed about this parent.
Or you're offered the next service and your tendency as a parent is to go, this has been problematic 3 times in a row. I don't want to bring someone new into my home who doesn't know what they're talking about, who's going to create problems that are going to make my life worse. They're going to tell me to do things that are going to not work. They're going to hurt my child.
Yeah.
He's going to get worse. I'm going to feel, and we just want to avoid it. And of course, once you start talking the avoidance.
Yeah.
And now here's the catch-22, because there's always a catch-22 in these situations. In today's world, you can't turn down services indefinitely because it looks like you're not being medically appropriate.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, you have this experience that the services, they've made, my child worse. They've escalated behaviors instead of help
Right.
take behaviors away.
Right.
So, the parents are caught in that catch-22,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to make sure that isolation does not follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So our first intervention is really always the same,
Always the same.
although it's a little
Yeah.
more sad in this case.
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
the first intervention is that we need to educate ourselves as the parents involved in this. And again, we would like to offer our materials. Faye and we've developed a lot of materials to help parents understand what's happening with that traumatized child, why the old normal interventions don't work, and what needs to happen differently.
Yeah.
And when a parent starts to understand that for themselves, then they can begin what I shudder to think they shouldn't need to do, but they can begin educating their own
Professionals. And
Professionals.
we've heard that so many times, and I remember way back in my history of sending the team down and saying, welcome, thank you for wanting to work with our family, so this is how we're going to do it. And it sounds very I don't know, high-minded to think I'm telling the professionals, but they come in without a training in early trauma, and we could have been on such a downward spiral very quickly.
And at this point, we have to admit that there are some professionals out there who are very stuck in their ways. They do what they do, and they don't want to do anything differently, and they don't want to be educated by anybody,
Especially a parent.
especially a parent that they might already be thinking is on a bad path.
Yeah.
And so they won't change.
Mm-hmm.
And we will say that there are professionals out there like that, and that those professionals who are not willing to learn what you're doing and why you're doing it may need to be cut.
Yeah.
They may need to be swapped out for somebody who is able to participate in the effort you're trying to make.
The big point in all three of these videos is we need family and friends. We need our peer support.
And professionals.
We need professionals.
Mhm.
But what has to pull it all together is the education.
Yeah.
You just can't do without.
The goal of having a team is to have every adult in that child's life on the same page,
Right.
using the same interventions, using the same language to describe what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
What we found is when that happens, change occurs
Yeah.
very powerfully.
Yes. Well, thank you all for listening. I hope these 3 videos have been helpful in identifying the pressures that cause you to go into isolation. Just to know going into isolation is normal, not healthy, but it is normal, and there are ways out of it. If you need more help, earlytrauma.com. We're always available. Thanks.
Thank you.